Greetings, Room 119. It's Mrs. Doran here. I'm by the ocean, but as promised, I will read to you those last 3 chapters. So we will start with chapter 52 of our book, The Secret Zoo. I'm going to read that last paragraph from the chapter before, since we usually review what happened last. So just to remind you what happened last, I read, "Near the entrance, someone ripped the flag off the stick and stepped into the light. Noah slid to a halt and stared. It wasn't his sister. It was a Sasquatch, the most monstrous beast he'd seen yet." And now we begin chapter 52, The Cave. The Sasquatch crept forward. Its long, knotted tufts of hair swung from its arms and knees, and its ape-like grunts rumbled inside the walls of the cave. As Noah's eyes adjusted to the new darkness, he could make out the creature's claws, long and swollen. They looked infected. Noah backpedaled, searching for an idea of what to do next. The only way out seemed to be the way they'd come in. Something jabbed at his back. He shrieked, certain that it was the claw of another Sasquatch, and spun around. There was Podgy. Noah had stepped into his bill. Together, Podgy and Noah retreated farther into the cave to keep space between the Sasquatch and themselves. Noah focused on the flag in the Sasquatch's hand with the letters A and S. There was no doubt. It was Megan's distress flag. A soft voice came from the back of the cave. "Noah? Noah, is that you?" Someone was standing in the shadows. "Megan? It's me!" They ran into each other's arms. Noah went limp with relief, and for a second he worried that he might collapse. He pulled his head back for a look at his sister and fought to raise her image from the darkness. She looked thin and tired. She'd managed to keep her glasses, and her pigtails, still in place, were matted and dirty. "I saw it all," Megan said. "I saw the wall explode. I saw the animals charge in, and somehow I knew it was you. I had my flag and I used it. But that awful thing saw me. It took my flag and lured you in here. You and..." Megan glanced at Podgy and changed her thought. "Was that penguin just flying?" "Yeah." "When did he learn to do that?" About 2 minutes ago, I guess." "What?" "Never mind that now. We gotta get out of here." Swaying back and forth, the Sasquatch moved closer. It was hunched over to keep its head from dragging along the ceiling of the cave. The ugly beast dropped the flag and stepped on it. "What now, Podgy?" Noah asked. Podgy glanced at his friend, nodded his head, and suddenly charged forward directly at the Sasquatch. When he reached the creature, he ducked and darted through its legs, and the beast swiped at Podgy, lost its balance, and nearly toppled over. Podgy whirled around and dashed back between its hairy limbs. The Sasquatch lashed out once more and just missed the elusive penguin. In disgust, it rolled back its head and let out an ape-like roar that boomed and echoed against the walls of the cave. "Is your friend trying to get us killed?" Megan asked. Noah paused for a moment, and then he said, "He's trying to save us." "What? How?" "He's distracting him, knocking him off balance." "For what?" Noah turned to Megan and smiled. "Want to go for a ride on a penguin?" "Excuse me?" "I think he wants to carry us out of here, both at the same time." "Can he do that?" "We'll find out." Podgy waddled back toward Noah and Megan, ran a full circle around them, and charged the Sasquatch again. "He's ready," Noah said. "Are you?" "No," fear rippled her voice. "Not at all." Noah gave his sister a peck on the cheek. "I never thought I'd say this, but I've missed you." He turned around, faced the Sasquatch, and took a deep breath. A second later, he charged, screaming, "Rah!" And Megan raced behind him, shrieking and pumping her arms at her side. Stunned, the Sasquatch stepped back. Then, as if it remembered how big and ominous it was, the beast stepped forward, raised its meaty hands, and showed its dreadful claws. Podgy ducked again, posturing to shoot between its legs. Seeing this, the Sasquatch leaned down to grab him, but this time the penguin pounced on its head and hopped over it. The Sasquatch spun around to grab the bird, but missed again. Podgy had distracted the creature long enough for Megan and Noah to escape through the legs and head for the opening of the cave. "Run, Podgy!" Noah screamed. Podgy was already racing for the exit faster than Noah had ever seen him move. The Sasquatch dropped onto his knuckles like an ape and chased him. At the mouth of the cave, the scouts braced themselves. "I don't think this is going to work," Megan shrieked. "There's no time to think," Noah shouted. A moment later, Podgy blasted out of the cave into the stormy sky. Noah leaped onto his back and grabbed his neck. When he expected to feel Megan land behind him, he instead felt nothing. He looked over his shoulder. The wretched Sasquatch had clasped Megan by the ankle and was dangling her over the cliff. The beast had nabbed her in mid-jump. "Podgy!" Noah yelled. "The thing's got my sister!" Podgy flew in a wide arc and navigated along the mountainside. As he passed the cave, he whacked the Sasquatch's head with his flipper. The Sasquatch floundered on the cliff, flailing its arms. Then it lost its grip on Megan's ankle, and both of them fell over the edge, plummeting toward the murky ground below. Podgy dived so suddenly that Noah nearly toppled off his back. The penguin swooped beside Megan, and at just the right moment, Noah reached out and snagged his sister by the wrist. The dive and catch was a spectacular feat, but Megan's additional weight was too much for Podgy to bear. The penguin lost control and crashed into the top of a tall, full tree. The threesome fell through the branches, bouncing off the large ones and crashing through the thin ones until they landed with a series of thuds at the base of the trunk. Twigs and leaves showered down on them. "Everyone okay?" Megan asked. "Yeah," Noah said. "Podgy, you okay?" Podgy stood up and shook his body the way a wet dog does. Noah looked around. He realized that they must have been a sensational sight in the air because Sasquatches were approaching from every direction, dodging trees and leaping over bushes. Within seconds, the scouts were surrounded by a small gang of them. They were grunting, snorting, and looking anxious to rip limbs from bodies. A lightning bolt split the sky, and the yellow of their eyes glowed. The beasts scrambled to clear a pathway for a single Sasquatch to come forward. The newcomer walked with a limp and had a swollen bald patch at the side of his head. It looked as if it had just been smacked with a large stick, or maybe something as equal size, in shape like a penguin's flipper. "Not good," Noah said. The scouts and Podgy backed against the tree. "Sorry, Megan," Noah said. I thought I could get you out of here." Megan scanned the dark landscape for an escape. "It's not over yet," she said. "There's no way out," Noah said. "Not unless you come up with a miracle." "I think it's coming our way." The miracle was charging toward them from behind the Sasquatches. Storming through the muddy forest were Ella, Richie, Tank, Blizzard, Little Bighorn, Dodie, Marlowe, P-Dog, and a bunch of other prairie dogs. Ella was riding on Little Bighorn and Richie was on Blizzard. They plowed into the Sasquatches and sent them flying. Some landed in the trees unconscious, draped over the branches like laundry that it was hung up to dry. Panic-stricken, the remaining creatures scattered. Blizzard growled, Little Bighorn snorted, and the prairie dogs yipped like mad. "Guys," Noah shouted, "what are you doing back here?" Tank said, "Marlowe spotted Podgy soaring through the air like a little blimp. We knew something was up when you flew into that cave." Megan ran to greet Ella and Richie, shouting, "I didn't know if I'd ever see you." Tank scooped Megan up and slung her over the top of Little Bighorn behind Ella. "Maybe we should save the hugs and kisses for later," he boomed. "What do you say?" "Good idea," Ella said. She swatted the rhino's side and called, "Come on, Little Bighorn, let's ride." Noah turned to Tank. Before he could finish, Tank lifted him up by his pants and tossed him on top of Blizzard. "No time for chit-chat, kid. Any second now, Mr. Darby's going to close up shop, if you know what I'm saying. I asked him to keep the wall down for 10 more minutes. 10 minutes? Noah said. Less than that now. Noah adjusted himself behind Richie and said, "You heard him, Blizz. Let's get out of here." As Blizzard raced off, Noah glanced over his shoulder. The prairie dogs were scurrying behind them as fast as their short little legs could run. In the sky, Dodie and Marlowe were joined by Podgy, their newfangled flying friend. Tank was on his way to the exit when a Sasquatch, a huge one with a chunk of hair missing from the side of its swollen face, grabbed him from behind. Tank swung around and knocked it out with a single punch. "Sometimes," Noah muttered, "things end on a high note." The motley herd of animals raced across the dark lands back to the cities of species. Noah thought of bringing Megan home, and 100 emotions washed over him. He was so overcome by love, joy, and relief that he started to cheer and wave his arms. The other scouts looked at him with big smiles. They too yelled and pumped their fists. That moment assured them that nothing would ever divide their friendship. No enchanted lands, no beastly creatures, and not even time. Real friendship was stronger than anything else in the world. They charged ahead and reached the exit. The instant they barreled through, the elephants dropped the boulders. The moment the boulders slammed to the street, a troop of monkeys sprang into action, sliding the velvet curtain down from the branches to seal off the dark lands. Once again, the city of species was safe under the magic that had issued from the fingertips of 3 mystical brothers from a distant land. And that's the end of that chapter. Stay tuned for chapter 53.